the other thing I always think about is like the unique part is that you live in Florida, right? So you live in Florida, but you operate a business that's in Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
And so let's talk about that, because a lot of people dream of the ability to live someplace and operate their business somewhere else. And so how do you, like, what kind of nuances is things that you're dealing with on a regular basis?
Yeah. So on a regular basis, you really deal with a lot of, I mean, at our position right now, at our point in time, which was different, you know, maybe a year or two ago. But right now, while I talk about having the right people in the right place, you have to empower those people to make those decisions for you. And you know, if you train them well, that they'll make the right call.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the hardest part, is making sure that they are okay and realizing when, you know, okay, maybe this is out of their realm. Maybe this is when I have to step in. So right now I have a problem where, like, should I let him take care of this? Should I step in? So that's the kind of key issue I have now. Before, it was making sure they're trained, making sure they know. And it's almost impossible for me to train somebody and be like, okay, here's your list. Here's all the things, 1, 2, 3. You can't do that. You kind of have to say, here's what I can give you right now. And you have to set that expectation. We're like, tomorrow or next week, something crazy is going to happen. A hurricane's going to come take the warehouse out, and we'll have to deal with it then. And you'll have to see how I deal with it and then use that for the future, because you can't predict what's going to come next.
Like in life in general, and we talk about simplification and making things really easy. Like, what does that actually mean to you?
Simplification.
Ooh, I'm hitting you with them today, aren't I, buddy?
Wow. All right. Good question. I would say, even like going back to the continuous improvement, right? So Seth sent me a list of 34 questions before I came to Tampa and said, answer all these, right?
34. So I made him onboard like we onboard our consulting clients, guys. So for those of you guys who work with us, you guys know what that takes.
Yeah. So as soon as I read this, first thing I did is I will do this. Like, I snooze. Like, I read through them. It's like I'm not answering a single thing right now, because like this is making me think, and I don't have the brain capacity to do this and actually like process all of these questions, because they were deep thinking. And actually, I was like, let's retitle this document, "Patrick, You Suck as a CEO." Although wasn't your intention.
Really?
Yeah.
That's your to make it?
Yeah, because I think it that was my initial reaction. I was like, wow, this is really fun, sarcastically, because it made me think critically.
Yeah.
Right? And when I think critically and I overthink things, and I think there's a lot of room for improvement. But they were all, at the end of the day, when I came back to it the next day and began to actually process it, and then I wasn't just the problem, but the solutions began to shine light on the solutions. And I think the cool thing, at least here, this relationship, is I didn't take, and I think it's the same with you and your consulting clients, and I know it is, because I gotta like sit in on these calls when they call in, and you're like, hey, Fat Pat's here, by the way, just, you know, before like they start divulging all their life secrets or whatever. But the relationship we have, I knew it wouldn't be like critical or judgmental, and I think that goes back to even before Fraction, just like our relationship, friendship there. And so I think I knew walking into it, yes, I'm going to be vulnerable. We're going to walk through these. We're going to improve the business. You know, me as a CEO, work through these things. And so I was like, I know this is for the greater good. Yes, I will like grin and bear it. We'll get through this. We'll walk through this together. I'll answer as much as I can right now. And then knowing that you'll be supportive, and then you have the systems and processes, I think, to help like bring that into Fraction to make sure that it does function better. At the end of the day, it goes all the way back to the client experience and taking care of our colleagues and peers in the industry and giving them a solution that they need. So if I have to go through like the sacrifice and the pain of like going through the 34 questions to help them out, then I'll do it. So I did it for y'all.
You grew up in the pest business.
Correct.
You've done a lot of stuff in your career. You work for a large company now that's expanding like crazy. But, you know, if you really boil it down, like, and you think about your career, what matters in the pest industry, if I said, hey, Curtis, if you could boil down what matters in the pest industry holistically, like, what would you say? Because I bet you got a really good opinion about like what matters.
I mean, I think it's your rapport with the customers.
Yeah.
Right. You know, and I hate to say this. I mean, it's not the way I do business or people do business.
Yeah.
But in the industry for so many years, I mean, I have seen even technicians, they'll have such a good rapport with their customer. You know, they may go on vacation or something, and the only way I ever find out that there's actually problems in the account is because they go on vacation. And I go look at the account, and I'm like, God, there's roaches everywhere. How do we still have this customer? But it's because they have such a good rapport with the customer they never call in. They never say anything because they just like seeing that technician and visiting with them and stuff like that. I've seen that several times over the years.
So do you think that people lose really large accounts because of that rapport?
I think so. Well, because on the flip side of that, you can say pricing, right?
Yeah.
All these companies nationwide. I don't know. You may know a statistic how many pest companies there are in the country, but
A lot. Yeah.
a lot, right?
Plus,
there you
plus
go.
or minus, yeah.
So, and then each one of those at least has one salesperson. The bigger companies have multiple per branch, right?
Yeah.
So you got to think every summer, all these people are out trying to steal your accounts. So if you have a good rapport, I don't feel like they're gonna change over $20 cheaper, right? But if they don't know who you are, you're just their technician, then they may switch for $20.
Yeah.
So I think it does pull a lot of weight.
I think that's pretty common for a lot of us that start
I believe it.
businesses. Because when I started my first company, my goal was to have 2 full-time technicians.
Yeah.
That was it. I was like, man, I'll be banking.
Exactly, right?
And it's as you get to a level that you think you are going to be satisfied, you realize, well, what happens if I actually try?
Yeah.
And then you continue to grow and you just keep going, right? It seems like we're always more capable of what we think we are.
Yeah, and I think that the one difference that I have, actually, you're one of the few people that would experience the same thing, is like, because we're involved in so many companies, is like I get constant endorphin rushes on wins of others, right? And I think you probably, for all your different operations, feel the same way, even though you're an owner of these. Like, you probably get the constant endorphin rush of like, the operation over here did something great, one over here, and like, it's kind of inspiring. And I'm sure you probably feel the same way.
Yeah. Well, yeah, you grow as a person,
Yeah.
you develop as a person in order to grow the company. And, Chris just talked about it, but yeah, you got to develop your people too. And when you watch them develop, that's very rewarding.
So, well, listen, man, is there any pieces of insight that you want to like look in that camera and you're like, hey, guys who have been in this industry a long time, like, here's something that I want to say that is beneficial to you. Is there anything you want to say?
There are probably a few things. I would think, number one, take care of your people.
Yeah.
Ultimately, they're the ones that are out there making you look good or bad.
Yeah.
And the better you can take care of them, I think the stronger that's going to show to the client down the road. I think another thing is invest in their education and yours. We've been very involved in continuing education beyond what maybe is required by the state for a long time. Like the NUCO events or the WCT events or coming to Energy and, being involved with Pest Daily. I let my techs go through Pest Daily and learn from some of those programs. I think you just empower your people and you'll do better long term.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting. And I know earlier today I did the interview with Shane, and Shane brought up a really good point. Shane Dietrich, he brought up a good point. He said, he's like, hey, what do you feed $1 million racehorse? And I don't know if you heard it, but he said, what do you feed $1 million racehorse? You feed them, right?
Right.
And like the comment I made to him was, hey, well, what if all your people are $1 million racehorses? And I think that you treat your guys like that. I mean, most people don't make the investment like into their staff like you do, and it's pretty amazing. I saw a post a couple weeks back on, I think it was LinkedIn, I don't remember, but a head of a company made a comment, and I don't even know the company, I've never heard of him before,
right.
But he made a comment that said, hey, rather than paying your guys more, train them so they make you more money.
Yeah.
And I was like, why don't you just do both?
Yeah, you do both. Sorry, I didn't follow that exactly, but yeah, I'm with you.
Yeah, you guys do both.
Yeah, we do both.
Yeah, I mean, how many guys do you have here at NUCO?
So I brought 4 guys with me, and my
investment.
wife came as well, and she's part of the company also.
Yeah, that's a big investment, man. So it's pretty cool.
Well, I mean, you got guys out in the field doing their thing. You got to give them the tools to succeed, right?
Yeah, it's awesome.
One of the things that I hear all the time, and you're echoing this like crazy. One of the things that I hear all the time is people are so risk adverse. They start a company to make a paycheck, right? And they're so risk adverse that they forget that we're working in a moment of time. And the moment of time is just today. And you have years and years and years to develop whatever you want. And they never want to just take the big swing. And frankly, I think you just said it. You did it. You took the big swing. And you know what? There's probably 1,000 little things that probably got screwed up along the way.
100%.
But the big swing is what got you there. And it was something that I really struggled with, not just in the pest industry, but as in my career, was that I would arguably say I was risk adverse, to where I never was willing to kind of go all in until, years back now, but the second I was ready to go all in and go, I'm just going to go at risk. And if I screw it up, like I have plenty of time to go make it up.
Right.
And, do you remember what that felt like?
I don't think.
Scary.
Yeah, it definitely is. When I signed for that second mortgage,
Yeah, I never did that. That's gotta be tough.
I thought, this is it. I'm either going to lose the house or I have a tendency to like to go to Vegas every now and then, and not on a regular basis, but my guys are like, let's put it on black, And my financial advisor, Randy, you're going to kill me for saying this, but he's like, you got to stop doubling down, stop putting it all on black. But that was just my move. Back in the day prior to pest control, I played a lot of pool, and that's how I supported my family at the day. So I was bartender at night, and I wasn't a hustler. I mean, we gambled. That's what we did. So I understand that looking for the game, putting the work in. There's a big translation from playing pool to, working. And I was going to get it done no matter what it took. But I do remind signing that note out and thinking, this is it, bud. This is it.
The family dynamic, you can, if you're a business owner, you can look at it. Are we going to succeed this business? Do you want to work? So, my daughter works for me. My son works for me. My brother-in-law works for me. My mother-in-law part-time works for me. And through the whole process, we've had to go through ups and downs.
Yeah.
A lot of times you put expectations on people that they may not be ready for, they may not want. And a lot of times you let your emotions get involved, and you take things to levels that they shouldn't go to in business. So those things had to be quelled.
Yeah.
Or brought back down to basics. And I think accountability was the answer to all of that situation. Once we said, listen, we love each other and everything's even, but it's a business and we have to be accountable for every action we do. It made it a lot simpler. Then the accountability became the focus over the personal dynamic. It's out of love. Through all this. And it was very painful. I had to work on myself.
Yeah.
First.
I remember.
I had to get, physically in shape. I had to get mentally stable, and I had to be accountable for my stuff.
Yeah.
Before I could really, move forward with working with the other people. Otherwise, it was just a back and forth. And now I think that everyone that deals with me in business has a really good opportunity to move forward if they want it, if it's for them. And if it's not, there's no hard feelings. There's no bad blood. Christmas will still be good. I think I started the business not necessarily to make money. So the money isn't the deciding factor in all of this.
Yeah.
It was a decision to try to get some generational change in my whole family.
Yeah.
Some of us came from some hard places, didn't have opportunities, and I wanted to be able to give more to my generations coming up. And that's what I'm doing. So that's the basic of the intent.
Kind of keeps the target way out there
If it was
versus
just about the money, then the money would dictate the decision.
As you went through this learning, and the most toughest part, which was the family dynamic, is how has that transitioned to actually help you be a better CEO for the rest of the team?
It's a great question.
Hard question.
No, I think, it takes you down to where you came from. I came from an owner-operator. I was ambitious. I wanted to be an entrepreneur. So I started. And once I got to a certain stage, I had to learn, I had to change, and I had to get to those things. So to get to that mindset, first I had to get to the mindset to help the rest of the employees get there. So if every day I considered where we're headed and kept track of everything and kept organized, inevitably they followed that trait. I thought it was going to be difficult. I thought I was going to get a lot of resistance. Everyone really likes discipline and structure. And so once I got the discipline and structure in my life and just made it a pattern, it just kind of followed suit.
Do you know what's funny? I always say, because I was not engaged with, but I understood what businesses did with marketing from a really young age, just from that experience within my family and things. And I always joke that like SEO, the first form of SEO was naming your company with an A at the front, so you got to the top of the yellow pages. Like that was literally the original SEO.
I've never heard that before, by the way.
So that's why you see like Aardvark Plumbing or whatever, or AAA Plumbing. Like that literally informed the naming strategy, because you'd be the first one in the yellow pages where people used to go, right?
Yeah.
And then it translated, like we were just at the shift between that and websites. But again, like you said, if you had the right domain or you just simply put the right words in the right places back then, boom, like right to the top. And it was a niche business that I worked on initially. So, I mean, it took strategy, but it wasn't competitive, but it was also so new. So we hit the magic like mix at that point, and I saw what the result of it was. And I've just been, myself and my team have been chasing that ever since that day. And it's gotten so much more complex.